What is going on, brothers and sisters? Astrologer Eric Rosen here for Viking Rising Astrology. No, my house is not on fire, just some Palo Santo burning in the background. We're in Sag season now. We moved on from Scorpio season. It's now Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio. We got to see one day glimpse of this intensity of the electricity kind of flickering on a little bit, this new exciting world. Next 20 years, Pluto and Aquarius. I don't know that we'll feel it fully until Uranus goes direct, which is the ruling planet of Aquarius. That's over in Taurus. I think that's when the world will start to feel more of a physical shift in where we're going, as opposed to just like more of the excitement that's in the air, especially with that sun making aspects from Sagittarius over to Pluto and Aquarius. This is opening up a whole new world of opportunity, of horizons, of where things can go. It is a very, masculine sort of philosophical, positive, optimistic belief, sense of thinking, and, I'd say a can-do attitude, like we can come up with solutions, we can make our lives better reality, that there can be more of a consistent commitment to persevering, now that Pluto's out of Capricorn. We've overcome some of the greatest hardships that we'll ever go through, at least from more of a, do you know how to be a self-starter? Do you know how to govern your life standpoint and really initiate things in your physical reality? But now there is this sense of like, well, there's plenty of people, there's plenty of opportunities, even though Mercury's shadow and it's trying to collect facts ahead of the sun, but it's not going to be able to understand it all mentally. But it doesn't mean that we can't, follow a sensational sense of self. Like, honestly, like, the best way to start to adapt to these changing times, and I've said this once and I'll probably continue to say it all the way through 2027, 2028, is knowing your human design and following your strategy and authority. If you want to learn about yours, you can click on the link down below and book a human design reading to get going in that direction, because we're shifting from the mind's understanding of things, right? Think about it. Aquarius is very mental. It's an air sign. But with Pluto, it has to come from a deeper soul's expression of deeper intuitive, honest truth and knowing. Like, Pluto demands truth. It can't just be, like too much of a psychological, hypothetical scenario, right? Like, Pluto's like, no, we had to produce the results. It's still a Saturn-ruled sign. We need to be able to, come up with solutions to problems and challenges. And so we can have the plucky attitude, with this sun making brief aspects over to Pluto. But remember that, we've got a long cycle ahead of us. And, remember, Aquarius is like, it's like the first date, it's like acquaintance energy. It's like you're starting to get to know someone and go deeper. Pluto at this innocent 0 degree. And then it started with Scorpio season. It's like, oh my God, you're so great. You're so just, all these things. And now it's Sag season. It's like, yeah, it's going to expand and go somewhere. But it's like, make sure you don't ghost your own soul and connect to the wrong frequency by getting seduced into the excitement of the new world without grounding it into some sort of practical reality. Because remember, Saturn is still the ruling planet of Aquarius. And whereas Saturn, it's direct now in Pisces, and it knows it's going to head for Aries. It's going to be catching up with Neptune here eventually. So this, to me, gets into the need to process the grief, the illusions, just anything from the past that feels heavy, karmic, that was created, that we all created as a collective, or even just personally, individually, relationships. This deals with letting go of subconscious beliefs. We have to look at that stuff in order to make sure we're not taking our baggage into the new world, right? Like, think of Pluto at that 0 degree of Aquarius, like being in the lobby, but you enter into the lobby and spirit, and you could even say AI, and like in an interesting way in this world we're stepping into, this lobby of going into this new, seemingly fictitious projection of how we think the future is going to go, of like this big communal hub building. We're in the lobby, but then there's like metal detectors. There's detectors that are going, hey, you can only cross this threshold if you're 5D. You can only get the spiritual abundance you're looking for if you're adapting your belief systems, if you're doing your deep subconscious healing work, if you're shedding your ego layers of identity. And looking at this astrology, that means going into the past, because you look at it, it's like, okay, yes, it's about the future. Pluto and Aquarius, right? Sun's making aspects. Yes, let's go expand. Let's, just be optimistic and go collect all the great experiences and abundance in life. But then Jupiter's flatlined a little bit, being retrograde in Gemini, right? So it's like, it's still going to be the little, opportunities, you could say synchronicities. It's probably not going to be the overwhelming thing right now that just like the big lotto ticket. That would only probably come from carry the remainder over from the hard work that was put in from Pluto in Capricorn. And if you got that, great. But it's like knowing that, it's still going to come from this deep commitment of, finding solutions to keep your life moving forward and of course staying positive. But Saturn, being that ruling planet, wants us to stay disciplined with what we're connecting to. So we got to deal with the past because it's in Pisces, and then Uranus, being the ruling planet of Aquarius, it's over in Taurus. And so in order to manifest now, in order to create what we want, yes, we need to have, spiritual, innovative ideas, bring your best skill set, know your fucking worth, like look at ways of calling in, manifesting. I would say, especially on a day like today, what's your big idea, and put that out to Pluto, put it out to the ethers, and just be like, hey, I'm open. Like, this is about openness, receptivity to positive frequencies, but knowing that in order to slingshot into that future, it's going to be way too much to figure out on the mental level. Finding that synchronistic flow where things just connect all at once in your physical reality, with people, with opportunities, with connections, with conversations that don't feel forced or feel imbalanced, of, you could say, even like a give-take sort of cycle, giving, receiving cycle, to where it's just endless action and you're not like getting results. It's looking at this Saturn piece, very much so, and going, okay, well, what is it? What's the remainder that was carried over, that was negative, that was karmic, that's like more that three-dimensional, that we cannot carry further past that entryway of that lobby of Pluto and Aquarius? And so I actually got a really powerful download the first night of Pluto and Aquarius, where it was like, oh, I need to do a free ebook where it deals with how to deal with manifestation blocks, how to manifest your vision, your dream, because these things are coming, but like, what's getting in the way still? Like, what are the subconscious spots that I think sometimes is our blind spot? Because, we want everything to be rosy in Pisces, but Saturn's just sitting there like, I don't give a fuck. I'll kick your ass. Like, I'm just going to keep it real, like Saturn keeps score. So it's like, grief is a nonlinear journey, right? We have to be willing to still process things emotionally and not use Pluto and Aquarius to like disconnect from our emotional world, just like to go out and be in the world and be excitable. And we're actually like disconnecting from our roots of like staying embodied, staying grounded with that Uranus and Taurus. And so I did this ebook to deal with these manifestation blocks, like how to deal with grief, why we need to deal with grief, in order to like create and see the clear vision, where it's not like the movie Inception, where it's like they're trying to carry out their mission, and his past like keeps haunting him, his like ex-wife like keeps like coming in and just like infiltrating the purpose and the mission of like what he's trying to do. So there's some deep symbolism there of like, what is it that still can haunt your past a little bit? Because Aquarius is weird, like in the sense of, yeah, it can feel like aliens and ghosts and just, goblins and all types of weird stuff. And in Pluto, it's almost like you can't shake it loose. It's like gum on the shoes, but it's like on the body. It's like, how do you clear the gunk out of your auric field? It's almost like you have to go into like, what are the weird beliefs, but especially the emotions connected to the beliefs that keep like feeding them. It could be the nostalgia, just like anything that feels like it's holding you back. Deal with the emotions of it, deal with that grief, and release those roots, release that stickiness. And then it's like the spacecraft lifts off much easier into the manifestations of your future, of your vision. This is not a time to fuck around. Like, I'm not even gonna stress over like trying to convince people of this, because the real ones know. It's just like, you're either in or you're out now. Like Pluto wants truth, and you know, Uranus is like, electricity is either on or off. You know, it's like sometimes you can try to divert it, you know, and like open a loop so, you know, the electricity flows in a different way. But then what part of that place in your life that you're compartmentalizing, that you're not being honest and committing, isn't feeding your soul, and you're not feeling alive? This is about knowing how to be all of it. You know, this is about, you could say, this Renaissance energy of like, there's just a willingness and a commitment to like whatever needs to be dealt with, you know how to deal with it, you know how to solve that solution. And so I think today is a day where we can be optimistic that we'll always be able to figure it out, because there's that optimistic, rosy attitude that's, you know, knows that we'll figure out, we'll find the abundant resource, the opportunity that we need with that sun in Sagittarius. But I think we got to just be wary of Saturn's lore, Saturn's rule of it being at the end of zodiac and being the ruler of Aquarius and it approaching Neptune. Like, we don't want to get like, we don't want to keep leapfrogging to falling parts of the machine of the matrix to stay optimistic all the way to the end of when Saturn, Neptune meet at 0 degrees of Aries next year. And then we're like, oh fuck, like what was I doing the whole time? It's like, well, you were falling for fake spirituality that like wasn't rooted in anything. Like, you weren't using it to be a better human being and be of service and actually fact check your life of like your soul growth, you know, and just treating it like my crystals, and, you know, or getting hung up in media being like way too like pro-Trump or way too anti-Trump. You know, this astrology deals very much too with like, you know, the falsehoods of like going to one extreme or the other and how dangerous that can be. And it's like, find the middle ground. It's like, don't be too Peter Pan, you know, but don't be so like Peter Banning either, like to quote the Hook movie, right? It's like, we still want to have fun, we still want to find that pep in our step, but this isn't about escaping to like Never Land 2 and getting caught up in like the jubilation of where things are going. So the real ones that are committed, there's no need to worry. It's more just, so I think I just want to prepare people that the mask is trying to get like glued on a little bit, I think, in the media and the hype and just so many different areas. And it's not about doom and gloom either, with like the bullshit with the missiles with Russia, Ukraine, and just the US authorizing using US missiles, which is a scary thing. You know, it's horseshit that that's happening. And there are challenges in the world. So it's like, it's not about shying away from those things. It's about actually using that as your deeper why to know that there is like a shifting reality coming. And so to not just get too overly hopeful, you know, without any sense of like honest like evidence. Like, we don't have all the facts, we don't have all the evidence of what this new world is going to be like. Aquarius deals with uncertainty, and so, you know, we have to take it one step at a time. We have to, which is a cliche in a way, but it's how do you show up just better and better every day. I would call this like, how do you create, it's not even a snowball effect, because it's almost like, that would almost like be symbolic of like your emotions are frozen, you're not feeling, like you want to be like viscous in the sense of like your passion, your emotions, like you very much want to be human during this time. Because there's one hidden thing I'm looking at too, it's like Pluto and Aquarius it deals with the reveals of humanity and just being a human in this collective. But we're only a couple months away from the node shifting too, and that South Node going into Virgo, which really deals with just like the reality of just like being a human. It's the opposite of Pisces, right? It's the opposite of like all the spiritual, you know, God, goddess, deities, spirit guides, angels, all that stuff, right? So thankfully we'll have the North Node there to, reach for that area, but this is going to bring up, people suppressing their emotions. And the reason that it's important to still find your passion and be creative and don't, get to the place where, we're relying on like machines for everything, or AI for everything, or even someone else to do it for you. The danger of that, where it's like, you're still knowing how to connect yourself emotionally, because there are civilizations, that fucked up and just thought that emotions were too fickle and they bled them out. It's like bleeding the brakes on a car, but then like, but you didn't actually put like brake fluid in, and so now you can't like stop. And that's what happened, is they couldn't stop like this, we're going to be super intellectual, sophisticated race. It's like very Pluto and Aquarius. It can be like power hungry for like the evolution of sophistication on like a high intelligence level. How do we still allow ourselves to be human? How do we still make sure that we're, checking in emotionally, like with ourselves and how we're feeling? I recently started a practice where I make sure that I spend a good 10-15 minutes in the morning checking in to see how I'm feeling. And then my days have been flowing better because of it, because, there's nothing in this astrology that says that we need to become the robot that's just like getting things done and we become the machine ourselves. Like, we need to be in a position where we are fact checking our reality to go, am I even having a good time? Am I even like enjoying this? Is this passionate? Am I feeling connected to people? Am I getting results? It is that kind of astrology where you could do all the things in the world, but if the emotional fulfillment isn't there, which I think Scorpio season always reminds us, that how can you expand and go further now in Sag season? How can we use Pluto to go and soar into these new places, but also having to like go into the depths of these truths to make sure that like we're not just skipping out on what we don't want to feel, because that's not going to work. And it not only breaks my heart to see people doing it, but there was a time where it was breaking my own heart too, where it's just like, holy shit, like we can't become robotic. We can do it, but last thing you want to do is do that and then feel really human when the node shift, and then be in some like karmic like health issues or something, and then it's manifesting because you don't know who you are. I triggered a lot of people because I put up a post about a week ago that your health is actually pertains to the conditions of your identity. Do you know who you are? Do you know who you are, and do you feel solid in who you are and what you want in this reality? Everything under the sun, your headaches, your digestion, your I'm not feeling well. Like, you could even use the IFS standpoint of that North Node Chiron in Aries, of just like all these sub-personas that have been surfacing since 2019, like these weird wounds that we have to work through, that it's helping us see that healed self, that I am self, without all this, protector parts that are trying to help us survive and get by, and that's where they originated from. It's like underneath of that can be this really electric connection to spirit, to the cosmos, to this outer sense of reality, of evolution, of like where we're going. And so it's almost like our protector parts are becoming obsolete, and that's what we're shedding, and there's a grief behind that. Even if you think that you're fine and that you don't have any grief because you've dealt with your past, I would just urge you to even consider this concept that maybe what was copacetic then for the last 16 years isn't now, and that it's being okay with like disconnecting from that part of yourself that was positive in that reality, but you have to adapt and be more fifth dimensional, even fourth dimensional, or if you really want to get down with like 6 and 70, you know, just however you like to connect. It's shedding that old skin, shedding those old identities, that old armor, that it's just not going to serve us to where we're going. So if you want to know about the outer planet shifting signs for 2025, including Pluto and Aquarius, Destiny Unleashed, I can't even think of the name right now. Destiny Tug of War, how to not play small for your zodiac sign. That link will be down below. That's only $9. The ebook will be down below for how to process grief and get to better manifestations. There's actually a guided meditation I included in that to take you into the heart space. The Arcturians surprised me and dropped into that meditation, so you get an activation there too. So let me know what you think of it if you choose to do it. And yeah, if you want to get an astrology reading, click that link down below to book that session. And the other types of sessions that I do, hypnotherapy is a good one for this astrology right now. There's a lot getting hit on the subconscious level. If you want to like be guided, I would say you could use it to meet your future self, to kind of get some information on how to like move your life forward if you're feeling stuck. You know, we could do different forms of energy work, very much work on that shamanic realm, work with the Arcturians, just medicine work. It's energetic medicine work. It's removing the blocks. It's bigger than Reiki. Rebirthing breath work. If you're someone who's having health stuff and stiffness and you just feel like you're a breath holder, breath work is a good one. And someone, really awesome gal who has been following this channel and booked, I think it was the Destiny Tug of War webinar, was asking about the channeling work that I do. You know, the Akashic Records, if you're not familiar, the Akashic Records is a universal library. Everything that's ever happened is happening now and will happen. It pulls on this universal timeline of probabilities of just infinite potential of where things are going. And so it's just natural intuitive guidance. I go out there and I grab that book for you and I read it and I'm like, oh, here's what it says. And then one of the newer ones too is an Arcturian life purpose channeling, where they drop in and they share their wisdom of more of this sophisticated, higher level, how do you step into your mission on Earth? Because that is fucking big wig shit right now. Like, in some ways, like, yeah, it's cool to like make sure your needs are met and manifest what you need and grow your abundance, but that's almost like gonna become preschool stuff by next year, I think, especially when these nodes shift, when it becomes way more about, are you spiritually destiny aligned with, like, do you actually know how to manifest the big thing that you came here for? And I know that can be, maybe that's a little triggering, you know, at the moment, it even feels a little triggering for me, because it's like, we have to go through a redemption of letting go of any of the past grief of that old 16-year cycle, especially if any of it manifested as failures with Pluto and Capricorn. Like, even for the people that, you know, notched their wins, got their trophies, had some successes in life, I guarantee there were lessons that felt like losses, that felt like failures along the way. And you might still be feeling some of that. You might still be feeling some of that from the Saturn-Uranus square, from which was Saturn in Aquarius square Uranus and Taurus. And so, like, Pluto's not going to square Uranus and Taurus, but these signs do square each other. And when I say square, I'm talking about, we'll call it a romantic challenge of sorts. It's the part where we maybe romanticize life, and but there is a reality, you know, basis, like, to things where we have to go, you know, was that experiment that was being run back then, and for a lot of the collective, that was, you know, one or two or more of these and some boosters, where it was like, you know, it was kind of a crazy experiment. And so I ran a crazy experiment. It didn't go well. It wasn't that, but it was like, you know, it's one of those things where we might be dealing with some of that now. And also, I didn't even mention, but everyone, you know, I got excited about the Christmas star, like at the end of 2021. That was when Saturn Jupiter met, At 0 degrees of Aquarius, that's a 20-year cycle. So I think that is great innovation energy for where this reality can go, the positivity of things, but there has to be some really deep commitments, and we have to believe in where this future can go. So that's a huge part of it. And so Pluto being at the 0 degree of Aquarius where this was at, and that sun in Sag activating it, I think it is good to reflect back to where were you December 21st of 2021 and the days leading up to that, maybe even going back to the end of November or early November to go, what was going on? Like, how did you enter into that portal, if you will, because it was a big one. And so Pluto's giving you an invitation to connect to that, even if it feels like you don't have the gall to do it, or you're still like trying to catch your breath. Like, Pluto and Capricorn can feel like running out of the mines of Moria, after Gandalf just like got clipped in like Lord of the Rings or something, but you got to like find a way to press on, but also still grieving. And so that's very much what this is. Activate your mission, manifest, but don't, if you're trying to push aside the internal subconscious blocks of grief or heaviness or just anything that feels like it's manifesting as stuckness or delays in your life, that's the thing to alchemize. That's the thing to transmute. That grief is actually the thing to face. It's your fuel for removing the boulder in the road. It's not about a fork in the road with the South Node in Libra, about weighing things out. Do I go left or do I go right? It's like, you know who you are, you know what you want, you know enough. Get clear and tell the universe about that, or better, but you got to deal with the big boulder in the road. So let's see what we got card-wise. Taurus, cultivate, manifest, baby. Stay grounded, take it slow. We're in this full moon energy of Taurus. We're in a full moon Taurus cycle that we just had, right? It was on Uranus, on Algol too. So it's like, don't even fuck with the dark, weird, energy that's meant to take you down. Keep it positive, know your value, know your worth, but it's on Uranus. So it is about innovating too. We're out of Scorpio season. So we got that Scorpio card reversed. There's really nothing to investigate. Like, the worst thing you can do right now is just sit on your hands, because sitting on your hands, pretty soon you'll be on your knees. Like, you'll be like some chick on OnlyFans, like begging for tips or something. I hate to say it, but it's like, this is about sustainable effort of creation. You've got to know how to create in this new world that we're stepping into. And it is a new world. This is our future, the North Node card. So focus on that. I'll pull one more card. Look at that. South Node, the past, the exact opposite in reverse. So it's like, what is the heaviness that is still being held on to, that's that heavy shit? Is it trying to understand that last 16 years? Is it trying to go, well, how's this going to work, or how's that going to work? It's like, well, we're already get lost with Pluto and Aquarius if we're trying to figure out too many things at once, right? At the end of the day, it is about creation mode. And if it feels like you're having trouble staying optimistic, positive, like knowing what to do, simplest thing, it's like, go look in the mirror and give yourself a pep talk. But if you're seeing some creepy crawlers looking back at you, or you just can't believe in that, that's that anti-self. That's that South Node in Libra. That's that Chiron North Node. That's this, what the fuck just happened the last 16 years? Like, let go of any of the heaviness. Like, you can let go. Like, you don't have to finish playing a match, playing a game that's over. It's like, adapt, find a new skill set in life, a new way to play the game. And one of those ways to play the game is grief, because we are heading into a new world. The collective is going to have to go through a tale of grief this next few years, because the way of living, the days of pre-2019, it's going to be so surreal to people that really is over. We're not going back. We did not come here for entertainment. We came here to grow and love and connect and recoup after centuries of matrix programming, and adapt to a new 400-year cycle that's going to be starting, or at least the last 400-year cycle that's ending in 2027, where we have to be self-starters. And so it's grieving an old way of living, but it's more so grieving the parts of us that needed that in the first place to survive, and that we got so intimate with, and that it kept us safe and kept us going, and we don't need that anymore. And some of the spiritual teachings, said you never needed it in the first place, but this is why we have astrology. It's for divine timing, that we were all going through the eye of the needle with Pluto and Capricorn, where we were all as a humanity just kind of like survival challenge mode at times, even if your needs were met, even if you were okay and had a high position, like Pluto still pushes people to their edge of of rising up and achieving and being capable of something. And so as long as you didn't ignore that call, to be fine. And if you did, it's okay. Go talk with someone, get a therapist, hire an astrologer, do some breath work. Some women could stand to maybe find a womb healing practitioner, right? Because it's like some of that stuff gets triggered for women. There's kind of an energy in the ethers, the cosmos, and the astrology about women just taking back their sovereignty of the boundaries of their bodies, of their past, of anything that's happened, and even past life stuff. And I think that's the sensitive trigger, that jackass, saying, your body, my choice. It makes me really sad. I can feel the sadness that must have triggered, for women. It does make me sad, that there are some men out there that are crude and not evolving in that way. And I wish, as much as it's great that I know there's there's so many men that are growing. Like, you'd be surprised. Like, I think women in general, this is just a general statement, right? Don't let me project, but it's like 99%, 98%, think that men are not evolving, and it's actually I'd say at least a good, this might sound crazy, but 70% are. It's not all in the States and America. And some of it just looks messy as fuck, and it doesn't fit the prototypical narrative of what a masculine is supposed to look like in terms of his character, because it's North Node, Chiron, and fucking Aries. It's gonna look weird and messy and ugly. And even for someone like me, where people might look and have their ideas about where I'm at as a man, but it's internally, it's you still feel the fucking wound. You still feel like the weirdo in the room. It can still feel lonely and disconnecting and isolating. And that's also why too, you'll see it if you choose to take a look at the ebook, but I'll just drop the link down below too if you want to skip the line. But bi-weekly, starting mid-December, December 16th, and all the way through the spring, I'm going to be hosting an online and in person too if you're in St. Louis, basically a group community gathering to process our grief, to alchemize the grief, to go into manifestation, because that is one of those things that we got deprived of, was grieving in community as a collective. And so there are opportunities to connect in that way of seeing that dark night of the soul, laying on the floor in the bathroom, that's part of it, but the vulnerability of just exposing your human nature and letting unshaming witnesses witness you and love you and have compassion for you, and also just listening ears too for whatever aliveness comes through you through that alchemization process of your vision of what it is that you want to manifest. It's talk to people, be around people that want to see you succeed, sometimes maybe even more than you do, because you're maybe shedding that anti-self and that old past 16 years and those beliefs that, I don't know, life's too hard, this challenge or that challenge. No, it's time to be your own co-creator. Trust me, the 5 placement Capricorn that went through it, just had Pluto finish with my son, poster child for the hardship. I get it. Pluto's squaring my ascendant, descendant now at the 0 degrees, Taurus and Scorpio. So, you know, we still find a way. We find a way to keep going, and we just get better and better, and we become better as a soul. So all those links will be down below. Love you all. Appreciate you sitting through this extra long horoscope, but you know, that's Sag season. It's a lot. It's a lot to reflect on. So love you all. See you next time.